Okay, I'm done with the spin-offs. I think the worst part's behind me.
Stand ready for my arrival, worm.
Hey, this video didn't take a whole year to make. Just 9 months. I've made videos of me 100% completing the main and spin-off Sonic games, and with this video I'm finally covering the handheld games. All I need to do is complete the crossovers of the series and any future Sonic games that release. Damn it! So be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe for the home stretch of this entire journey. The spin-off titles for the Sonic series were some of the most difficult and tedious games to 100% complete due to either the gargantuan amount of grinding involved, the overall quality of the game, or the overall physical or mental strain I had to go through just to keep going. So the handheld games can't possibly be any worse. Right? Okay, so as much as I want to go into detail on all of the Game Gear games, there really isn't too much to talk about. Every one of them, with the exception of Tails Sky Patrol, the Sonic Drift games, and Sonic Labyrinth, which all you have to do is play through them. The other Game Gear games only have one objective: collect the Chaos Emeralds to unlock the good or secret ending.
Yo, holy shit, he dead!
Except for Tails Adventure, where you get the Chaos Emeralds and items so you can progress through the game. There's also handheld variants of console games like Sonic Spinball that have little to no gameplay or objective differences. Which makes me wonder if you guys would want to see me play these games and complete them using the website Retro Achievements in the future to spice things up, because there really isn't too much going on besides collecting Chaos Emeralds. Next up, we have Sonic Pocket Adventure. The only real collectibles in this game are the Chaos Emeralds and puzzle pieces. Let's start off with the puzzle pieces. These are collectibles you can get throughout the stages that you can use to make pictures. Yeah. At least you get some cool Yuakawa artwork out of it, because I'm pretty sure these pieces haven't been featured anywhere else. There's 7 Chaos Emeralds in this game that you can only get by getting 50 rings at the end of Act 1, and there's only 6 zones in this game, meaning you only get 6 attempts at getting the Chaos Emeralds. And with all emeralds collected, you unlock Doomsday Zone, except not really, it's a lot easier. But with that, the 90s Sonic handheld games have been completed. So, this is where we reach the real meat and potatoes of this video, and where things start to get a little complicated. It isn't terrible yet, but we're reaching that breaking point. Sonic Advance is a nice return to form for classic 2D Sonic gameplay, and it's a pretty solid game once you learn how to deal with all the beginner's traps the game throws at you. You go through 6 zones with 2 acts each with Sonic, Tails, Amy, and Knuckles, and you have to beat all of their campaigns to unlock the secret final boss, but I'll get to that in a bit. As for the unlockables, it's actually pretty straightforward. Yet again, we are dealing with Chaos Emeralds, but it's a little bit interesting this time. Unlike most of the Game Gear games, you won't just find the Chaos Emeralds lying around or anything, and you won't have to hold on to 50 rings throughout a stage like in Sonic 1. Instead, Chaos Emeralds are locked behind these strange springs that take you to a special stage which annihilates your depth perception. If and when you fail these stages, you can't try them again. You have to restart the stage, so every failed attempt stings just that much more, and unless you have a guide, it's gonna be a pain trying to find these springs. Any character can access these stages, but if you want to have an easier time navigating to them, I'd recommend Tails or Knuckles since they dominate vertically. Oh yeah, after collecting all the Chaos Emeralds, you unlock an exclusive final boss with Super Sonic. And after that, you get the true ending alongside 3 tracks for the sound test. But with that, Sonic Advance has been completed.
Sonic Advance 2.
Okay, now we're at my personal favorite of the Advance lineup. I can always jump right into this game when I need to pass the time. The completion process, though?
Please, please just hear me out, please!
yeah, it's not very fun. Interestingly, you can actually unlock characters in this game, unlike the first Advance where they're all unlocked from the start. Sonic is the only one that can unlock these characters. You get Cream after being the boss for Leaf Forest, Tails after Music Plant, and Knuckles after Sky Fortress. Much like every other handheld game up to this point, Sonic Advance 2's main collectibles are the Chaos Emeralds. But I'm not gonna lie, the collection aspect is arguably the worst in the series. See, there are these collectibles called SP rings, and there are 7 of them in every stage. In order to unlock the special stage, you have to collect all 7 in the first act of each zone. No more, no less. So one would think since the number of required collectibles are so high, they'd have an organic way of collecting them. Right? The main issue is that this game encourages speed first and foremost and doesn't even consider exploration for the most part. Every stage has so many points of no return where if you miss a single SP ring, you're gonna have to go right back to the stage select, buddy. Tails, Knuckles, and Cream are able to kind of negate this because of the way they can traverse stages, but even then, the level design can still manage to have those rings completely locked off after you pass a certain point. Then there's the chance of dying after collecting a good amount of the SP rings and losing them, and since there are multiple checkpoints in the stage, you'll most likely be at a point where you can't go back for any of the rings because of some stupid reason the ring count resets after you die, so guess what? Take your ass right back to the lobby, buddy. Like, why are the Chaos Emeralds so punishing in this game? The worst part is that in order to achieve 100% completion, you can't just collect one set of Chaos Emeralds as Tails to make it easier like in Advance 1. In order to unlock the secret Supersonic boss, you have to firstly beat the game with Tails, Knuckles, and Cream. But you also have to collect all the Chaos Emeralds as Sonic specifically, who is the worst to use when SP ring hunting despite the other characters also being able to go into special stages. I will say the cutscene you get from it makes it pretty worth it just from how cool it is. Absolute cinema. But at the end of the day, it's a boss fight that you can still beat in under a minute after spending potential hours collecting Chaos Emeralds. But this begs the question, why exactly are the other characters able to collect Chaos Emeralds when Sonic is the only one that can unlock the final level? So after you beat the game with a character with all 7 Chaos Emeralds, you're able to unlock something. Beat the game with one set of Chaos Emeralds and you unlock the Tiny Chow Garden, which was available off-rip in the first game, by the way. And oh my god, look at all these rings! This is my childhood copy and I played the crap out of it, and it goes to show how absurd it is to even collect one set of Chaos Emeralds. I had no idea that the rings you accumulated throughout your playtime transferred to the Tiny Chow Garden. And I'm only just now getting around to raising my child 20 years later. Anyway, the more campaigns you beat while having all the Chaos Emeralds, you unlock more things, and compared to the Chow Garden, the unlockables are kind of minuscule. You collect a second set of them, you unlock the Sound Test, which I'll admit is pretty adorable. Do it a third time, you unlock the Time Attack for boss fights, which is, neat, I guess. The final reward you get after collecting 28 Chaos Emeralds and 96 SP rings after spending 15 hours of your life on Sonic Advance 2, you unlock Amy! Honestly, this is a pretty interesting unlockable considering she was fully playable in the last game, but I'd say it's pretty cool that we can unlock her because her whole moveset has been completely overhauled from the last game and she doesn't play as bad as she used to. And before you ask, yes, I did collect all the Chaos Emeralds with her as well, so I could get the pretty background you get for collecting all the emeralds and beating the story. Which doesn't unlock anything, by the way. She's at the very least fun to play as, and I can relive the nostalgia of her running away from Zero just like in Sonic Adventure. And with that, Sonic Advance 2 has been completed. Okay, let's be real. This is the portion of the video all of you were really waiting for. All the way back when I started this series in 2023, I got hundreds of comments telling me how bad Sonic Battle was gonna be. And you know, they were right, but I pushed through, and this is how it went. With all that out of the way, let's get them. So the general progression of Sonic Battle is pretty straightforward. Fight, fight, fight until the game's finished, and if you play through each character's campaign at least twice, you unlock Captain's Logs from Gerald Robotnik talking about his work on Emerald on the Ark. The story is well written, so having to play through them twice isn't the worst thing in the world because there are neat little interactions that I really find charming. When you complete a campaign, you're also able to unlock a minigame. Most of these minigames are only accessible with a second Game Boy Advance, so that's kind of lame. And they don't require a second copy of the game, surprisingly. But I can't even lie, some of them are pretty fun. But Sonic and the gang aren't the only characters you gotta play as this time. The main gimmick is Emerald. And every time Emerald's in a fight with another character, playable or not, he receives a card with a random move of the characters after the fight. And this is where the main problem of completing this game comes in. Everything is RNG. So RNG, or random number generator for all of you grass touchers out there, is where every aspect of something is totally random, and unfortunately for Sonic Battle, you can fight for hours and still get the same cards over and over and over again. Now I know what some of you may be thinking to yourselves. Luxe Crux, it's a Sonic game. Those things are easy. How bad can the cards in Sonic Battle possibly be? I want you to guess how many cards are in this game. 20, 50, 70, maybe even 100? 311. Out of that 311, you are guaranteed 29 of those cards. 2 are from the tutorial and Sonic story, then you have 8 that come from the codes at the Sonic team building, and the rest are Emerald's ultimate cards. More on those in a bit. In order to fully utilize Emerald's moveset, you need to level up his skill points by participating in fights. There are also these rare cards that you can get that grants you a rare ability for any character no matter who you just got done fighting with. My method for grinding out the rare cards and the skill points is the Knuckles fight. See, in Knuckles' story, he challenges you to a fight with only one stock. So it's one of the fastest fights in the game, being less than 10 seconds, and if you don't get the card that you want, you can just reset the game. Like I said earlier, some of the only cards you can get for sure are in the Sonic team building and the last story. If you type in a specific code, you're able to get a combo attack for every character in the game. These combo cards allow you to one-shot everything in the game just by pressing the right bumper. These combo cards are going to be your best asset to grinding as a whole in this game, especially since you also have to grind out Emerald's ultimate cards. Okay, so there's this virtual training thing at Tails' lab. The only way you can get Emerald's ultimate cards, which are admittedly broken, hence the name, you need to win a set number of matches against 3 AI opponents, in increments of 5, 10, and 15. After you reach 15 consecutive wins, you can only get ultimate cards again when you reach 20 wins every single attempt. What's the problem? You see that counter right there? That represents how many stocks you have in a fight. So one would assume that you've got 10 tries within the fight to beat these opponents, right? See, for some ungodly reason, throughout your entire runs on virtual training, you've only got 1 life. If you die at all, no matter how far you are, your count resets to 0. It isn't like the AI is fighting against each other either. No, at all times they are beelining towards you and want you dead, so it's a little hard to heal or even run away at times. Mind you, they also get more aggressive the further you progress. So if the AI happens to catch you lacking and starts jumping you, you're kind of cooked. Even with the Sonic team cards, the AI can get the upper hand easily if you slip up. And somehow that's not even the worst part. While you're guaranteed an ultimate card when you reach the threshold, it can still be RNG dependent. Meaning you can go through the virtual training multiple times and could potentially get the same cards you don't need anymore over and over again. Look, I have 6 ultimate run cards, and I had to slog through virtual training way longer than I should have. As terribly painful as this is, it's the best way to grind out for the rest of the cards, because after you start getting a good streak, you can get at least 3 cards per battle against the characters you fought. I only ended up having a little over 200 hours in the game, but it's not counting the times where I didn't save and just turned off the game because the grind is just that tedious. Maybe one day, if I haven't completely lost my sanity, I'll try to do a 100% speedrun of this game with multiple copies of it. Maybe set a world record and forever be known as the Sonic Battle guy. But as of right now, Sonic Battle has finally been, once and for all, completed. You know what? Screw you. I worked hard on this. You're getting the full experience. Alright, we've reached the last game on the Game Boy Advance. This was actually my first time fully playing this game, and the completion process is pretty cool, but like really short. Yet again, you're able to unlock more playable characters if you progress through the general story. Unlike Advance 2, there aren't any secret characters to unlock, so you don't really have to worry about collecting almost 50 Chaos Emeralds again. But you still have to play through a good portion of the game in order to unlock the characters, and you have to have Sonic as the leader. I'm happy to say that Chaos Emerald hunting isn't convoluted here. There's 10 Chow hidden in every zone, and unlike the SP rings in Advance 2, once you collect the Chow, it's yours forever. And after you collect all 10, you gain the ability to collect SP keys. These are able to unlock the special stage springs. They're one-time use, but you can recollect them and they're very easy to find in a stage. These stages are actually pretty easy, but they can get really convoluted near the end. I'd say it's a fair amount of challenge though. After you collect all 7 Chaos Emeralds and beat the final boss, nothing happens. Besides unlocking the sound test anyway. You do instead have to go back to the final boss and beat it one last time to get the true final boss. You're also able to unlock special stage mode, where if you press up, right bumper, down, left bumper, right, left, you essentially can go through a gauntlet of all 7 special stages. You don't get anything if you complete it though, and the only thing left to do really is to collect all the gold medals in every single stage and boss. Time trials pretty much, where you can get gold, silver, or bronze medals, which is really kind of a cakewalk if you have the Tails and Sonic team up, because he's basically a portable speed pad. Collect all of them and you get the time trials for every boss fight, which, you know, really isn't worth it. After Sonic Battle, Advance 3 was just what I needed. Just a nice, simple game to 100%. And with that, Sonic Advance 3 and the entire Game Boy Advance lineup has been completed.
Actually, Luxe Crux, what about Sonic Pinball Party?
There's nothing to 100%, you just play through it. Leave me alone.
Sonic Rush!
Woo! Sonic Rush, baby! This game is the one that I was looking forward to completing the most. The completion process is super straightforward compared to the GBA games, but it kinda leaves it to be a very short experience. This is the first handheld game to introduce actual ranks, and they pull no punches here. As usual, a few key factors are required for the S rank. Like the newly added trick system, where basically every time your feet leave the ground, you probably are gonna have to do a trick. So you'll be hearing this a lot throughout your playtime. And of course, you have to do it all in a timely manner with a bunch of rings. Let me tell you, to get some of these S ranks, it can be darn near as strict as Sonic Adventure 2 or Sonic Unleashed. For a first-time player, a lot of these stages can be super challenging, but memory quickly kicked right back in from when I was 10 years old, and the stages ended up not giving me too much trouble. When I say that, I'm talking about Sonic mainly. Blaze, on the other hand, I'm the type of person that tries to go for the S ranks first and foremost, but Blaze's campaign has absurd difficulty spikes because her stages are in a different order than Sonic's. So that can be a little tough if you're stubborn like me and refuse to leave a stage until you S rank it. Next up, we have the bosses, and there really isn't too much to say. Collect all the rings, don't get hit, and do it all in a reasonable time. Next thing we need to do is collect Chaos Emeralds, which are locked behind these weird, spinny things, and all you need to do is have enough boost to access them. These emeralds are some of the easiest I've ever gotten in a Sonic game. Wherever you put your stylus on the bottom screen, Sonic will follow it to a T, and this makes for some very precise navigation. I got all the emeralds as a kid, but that took me like a week of dedicated playing. On the revisit though, I didn't fail these stages a single time. Collect all 7 and you unlock the secret final boss. And I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of a pain in the butt to S rank this fight. It's mostly because of Sonic. See, Blaze has a projectile that she can use to shoot Eggman Nega whenever she wants, but Sonic doesn't have something like that. He has to ram the projectiles back at Eggman just like in the Advance games. It can be really awkward trying to accomplish this because the DS's D-pad was not built for this. But through trial and error, you get the S rank, and Sonic Rush has been completed.
Sonic Rivals.
I played the crap out of both of these games when I was younger, but I never completed them until now, and I'll be covering both Rivals and the sequel because the completion process is pretty similar in both. Let's start off with the basic stuff. Sonic Rivals has you race against the AI of other playable characters such as Sonic, Shadow, Knuckles, and Silver. You essentially play through the same campaign 4 different times with different characters' perspectives. S-ranks in these games are surprisingly traditional. Beating your opponent isn't enough. You have to collect a good amount of rings and use power-ups and do it all in a timely manner. Some races will take you 1 attempt and others will take you 15. It's all about memorization. Same thing applies to the boss fights. Usually you're just competing against the AI to score more hits on a boss. After beating the 4 main campaigns, you unlock Metal Sonic as a playable character for the other modes. You can also unlock various costumes for every character. These costumes are given to you when you collect the cards. Okay, the cards in this game aren't nearly as bad as Sonic Battle. Unfortunately, like Sonic Battle, a lot of these cards have a random chance to appear, so yet again, you are playing through a stage over and over and over again, hoping that you can get some of the cards that you need. Fortunately, some of the cards are guaranteed, like the Chaos Emerald cards that you get for completing certain cups. These cards do unlock significant things like the costumes I mentioned earlier, as well as character themes for the menus, which does just change the UI color to match that specific character. And it's a generally nice trip down memory lane seeing some of these character renders. You do get a lot of the cards just by grinding out the campaign, but there's 150 of them, and the best way to get a move on is to play the challenge mode. You can get up to 5 cards in every single stage if you just meet the criteria. So really, it's just a lot of trial and error. Thankfully, it's a lot more consistent than Sonic Battle, so it's just a matter of time. And it's even better in the sequel! Sonic Rivals 2 is much more ambitious than the original, but it's way less of a pain in the butt to complete. Yet again, you're playing through 4 campaigns, but you do play 2 characters within them. And for the S-ranks, it's more or less the same. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really have much to say. The card collecting has been completely overhauled, and instead of getting everything randomly, everything is tied to achievement-like things. There's still 150 cards to collect, but really it's just about meeting the requirements of something. Kind of like the special book and secret rings if I were to compare it to anything. It's all really trial and error, and the only one that I had to really worry about were the multiplayer achievements. Because basically, you need a second copy of the game and a second PSP to do that, and, well... So I ended up buying a broken down PSP and a second-hand copy of the game that was really scratched up and just prayed that it worked. And I was able to get all the multiplayer done. Then I traded both to the pawn shop just so I could get a little bit of my money back.
You can't forgive me, can you, for using you and then tossing you aside?
But with that, the Sonic Rivals duology has been completed. I totally forgot this game existed until I happened to run into a copy of it at my local pawn shop before I even decided to start this video series in early 2023. Sonic Rush Adventure retains a good amount of what its predecessor does, but adds a lot more busy work. Let's start off with the stages. I didn't think it was possible to make the S-ranks more challenging than the original Sonic Rush, but oh my god, Rush Adventure will basically dropkick you trying to get these done. The point system has also been slightly altered from the original. I didn't need to replay the stages in the original nearly as much as I did here, and you know, most of the stages are pretty fun and made for a good challenge. And apparently the highest possible score you can get in these stages are 110,000 points. There are freaks of nature out there that have been able to achieve this, but unless it's highly requested by you guys, or I get finished with everything else I want to do in the Sonic franchise, I ain't trying all that for right now. You also have the secret islands that you can discover in the world map. You have to S-rank these as well, but luckily they aren't super difficult. You also have the boss fights, which aren't as bad because you don't have to wait for their patterns to finish like in the first game. You can just wail on them like a classic Sonic boss, you just gotta be quick. Next up we have the vehicles. Throughout the story you get vehicles that help you sail to various islands. You're able to upgrade them using materials you gain throughout the story, and you get those by playing through specific levels, so if you're already grinding out the S-ranks, this shouldn't be a problem. With the jet ski in particular, you have to race against Johnny for Chaos Emeralds, and you should be able to get them easily, especially with an upgraded ride. Collect all 7 Chaos Emeralds and nothing happens. Which leads us to the missions. Another day, another Sonic game that requires 100 missions to complete. These missions are fairly tame compared to other games though. You got your time trials, which can be a bit of a pain if you haven't played a level a lot, but since I was grinding out S ranks beforehand, it was fairly easy. Except for that one mission where you have to play a 1-to-1 recreation of Leaf Forest from the original Rush and beat it in under a minute. Sure, I can easily do it now, but this was like the ultimate skill check for me. Then collecting a certain amount of rings and yada yada. If you played missions in other games, these should be all too familiar. Completing some of these missions will give you extra stuff to add to Windmill Island, which is actually kind of cute. More on that in a bit. I wanted to point out collecting the Soul Emeralds. Instead of getting them through the story like Vanilla Rush, Blaze has them tied to the mission mode. Pretty much, you have to beat the same bosses again, with them being more difficult. That's it. So what do you get for completing the other 99 missions in Rush Adventure?
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
After that, I tackled the final boss, and frankly, it's a lot easier to S-rank than Vanilla Rush, thankfully. And with that, Sonic Rush Adventure has been completed. So, Sonic Chronicles is technically a straightforward game to complete. The only real collectibles you have to worry about are every single variant of Chao and every single ring in the overworld. This is where the Chao Garden comes in. Chao can give you elemental abilities so characters aren't totally useless in battle. There's also Chao that restore PP after every turn. Finally, there are Chao that can make you skip silly QuickTime events altogether and make the game play like an actual RPG. And that's just scratching the surface of all the variants. The only problem is that all the ones that you get are RNG dependent. You can reset your game to get a different one each time, and you only have to get 40 of them, so it isn't the worst thing in the world, and they make the experience way easier. These Chao are locked to level 1 by default, and unfortunately, the only way to improve their levels is you have to trade them to 2 different copies of the game, and I'm not doing all that. Now, moving on to the rings. I unfortunately didn't know about the points of no return, so I had to start the game all the way over with New Game Plus. Yes, this game does in fact have a New Game Plus mode. New Game Plus is also the best way to do all the side quests just because you'll likely be able to handle anything thrown at you, so completing them is much less of a hassle. There's also side quests that feature Cream and Omega as optional party members, meaning you can miss both of them and have 2 slots missing for the entire game, and these 2 are essential to a playthrough just because you can't go back. After everything is collected, all you gotta do is give Emperor Ix a good whack on the head, and Sonic Chronicles has been completed. This is a game that I never really got to experience, and unbeknownst to me, it's the bastard child of the Rush games. Right off the bat, this game is much more difficult than the Wii version just because of the S ranks. Unlike the console version, you can't just cheese out the S ranks by grinding out color power bonuses by collecting wisps. Not only are there regular stages, but there's also missions where you meet other characters in the cast at the amusement park. While there aren't 100 missions to complete, these are the absolute most tedious ones in the Handheld lineup. Usually you're just collecting or destroying a certain amount of things, and these missions are super strict because guess what? They have ranks too, so it's pretty annoying at times. I mean, you don't have to get all of the S ranks, but you guys know that's not how I roll. And there's also events you have to unlock for every cutscene and every mission, and for some reason you have to intentionally fail and pass every single mission, so it's kind of a time waster. There's also red star rings in this game as well, in the regular stages and the missions. Unlike the console version, which unlocks Supersonic, collecting the red star rings in this game you can unlock various concept art and music, which is pretty cool. kind of like Sonic Generations. But if you collect all the red star rings in every single stage and mission, you unlock the infinite boost, where your boost gauge is constantly filling back up, and I think that's pretty cool. I miss unlockables like this because they are lacking in the console games. Moving on, we have the Chaos Emeralds. Colors DS goes the more traditional route of getting Chaos Emeralds. Instead of finding special stage entrances or racing people for emeralds like in the other Rush games, you're required to get 50 rings and hold on to them by the end of the stage before getting a chance at a Chaos Emerald. It reuses the same half-pipe layout as Sonic Rush, down to the same control scheme and all. And once again, it's pretty easy getting the emeralds much like that game. Collect all the Chaos Emeralds and you're able to fight the mother of all Wisp, and if you aren't careful, getting the S rank on her boss fight might give you trouble. But after all that, Sonic Colors DS has been completed. This is a game that I have played since 2015, and a game that I definitely put more time in than even the console version, so I know it like the back of my hand. First and foremost, Sonic Generations 3DS has a bit more of a skill curve than the console version. It's nothing too terrible, but the score requirements are a lot more strict, so if you haven't played any of the other DIMPS developed Sonic games, you have a bit of a challenge ahead of you. The bosses are a completely different story, they are way too easy. The only notable bosses are the rival races, and even then, it's all just about memorization. Next up are the Chaos Emeralds. They're still tied to the plot, but you have to actually earn them via special stages instead of challenge gates that lead into boss fights. It's a rehash of the Sonic Hero special stages, and they're super easy to finish. Just don't play in 3D because you will want to throw up. So you get all the Chaos Emeralds and fight the final boss, and it's way less tedious than the console version. So after getting all the S ranks and beating the final boss, you think you're done, right? So this game doesn't have challenge gates like the console version, so to make up for that, DIMPS added 100 missions to the game! Oh! Now, these missions are locked by default, and you're only able to unlock around a quarter of them just by progressing through the story. Guess how the rest of them are unlocked? Nintendo 3DS Play Coins. Yeah, you know that little step tracker you have on your 3DS? Yeah, if you take at least 100 steps, you're able to accumulate one 3DS Play Coin. And you need at least a few hundred of them in order to unlock the rest of the missions. These missions aren't anything you haven't seen before. For every mission you complete, you can unlock various things in the collection option in the main menu. You can view models, various tracks used throughout the franchise, and heck, you can even get concept art from other handheld games that haven't been seen outside of this version of the game. That's cool and all, but in order to consider this game 100% completed, there's only one more thing you have to worry about, and that's your player card. This is basically your profile for the game. So there's only one last group of unlockables for the game, and those are the card patterns. Basically just a way to spruce up your player card with a screenshot of a Sonic game you like. The only way to unlock these in a timely manner is by playing online matches, because you need 999,999 points in order to unlock them, but as you all know, the 3DS servers shut down some time ago, so this is no longer possible. Sure, there are methods like Street Pass or playing through a stage 20 times, but those methods only provide you with so little points. Lucky for me, I've played this game since I was a child, and I dedicated an entire summer to it. If I rage quit from competitive battling in Pokemon Omega Ruby, I'd grind out Sonic Generations online matches. I know when I first started the series, everyone was in the comment section saying stuff like, dude, don't do Sonic Battle, it's going to be the hardest game to complete in the entire franchise. But with the 3DS servers shutting down and me wanting to complete this game by the books, if I didn't have this cartridge since childhood, this would have taken me even longer than Shadow the Hedgehog. In reality, Sonic Generations 3DS is now one of the hardest Sonic games to 100% legitimately. But with that, Sonic Generations 3DS has been completed.
Hey, you still need to make a video on Shadow Generations!
Yeah, like in 9 months.
Sega.
Sonic Lost World 3DS may as well be a different game. It is fully 3D, but it only shares the story and locales of the console game. It's a fairly straightforward Sonic game in the initial playthrough. All you have to do is get the S ranks, red star rings, and Chaos Emeralds. Like the Wii U version, there are 5 red star rings to collect in every stage, with the grand total being 120. Unlike the console version though, collecting them all doesn't unlock Super Sonic, but instead unlocks extra stages for the game itself, with the final unlockable being a harder version of the final boss. Super Sonic is in this game though, which leads me to the Chaos Emeralds. Gaining access to special stages for Chaos Emeralds is pretty traditional in this game, with you holding on to 50 rings throughout a stage, which grants you access to the special stage. What isn't traditional is the special stages themselves. In typical Sonic game fashion, they decided to make these special stages adhere to the gimmick of the platform the game is played on. In this case, that would be the 3DS's gyroscope, meaning the only way to move around is to hold the 3DS in a certain position. You are going to be twisting and turning your body up, down, and all around because of this stupid gimmick. The worst part about all of this is that these special stages in fact have S ranks to get. For your troubles though, this is the first time Super Sonic is playable in a handheld game in regular stages. And if you had any troubles S-ranking some of these stages, Super Sonic makes it a snap. And if you gather a good amount of materials from completing stages, much like Rush Adventure, you'll be able to craft RC vehicles for multiplayer like the Wii U version. Alright, let me talk about materials right quick. These are able to get you RC vehicles like I mentioned before, and stuff like ring boxes to use in stages like the Wii U version, and you need a lot, and you can only get a few of them from completing stages, so it's just really annoying and grind heavy more than anything. At the very least, it makes getting those S ranks a little easier, so with that, Sonic Lost World as a whole has finally been Pardon me?! Okay, so apparently there is a hard mode for this game because one playthrough wasn't enough for some reason. If you've played previous games, it's about what you would expect. More enemies with more aggressive variants, with more things on screen that can hurt Sonic, and the worst part is that there are barely any rings in the stages. So it makes it so painful to get these S ranks because yes, of course, this mode has S ranks as well, and if you slip up once, you might as well restart the level because you're not getting anything higher than an A rank. Unless... But with that, Sonic Lost World 3DS has been completed. So, Sonic Boom Shattered Crystal. Yeah. Unlike its Wii U counterpart, Shattered Crystal is a lot more like a traditional Sonic experience. And much like the Wii U counterpart, it's really boring. There's a good amount of collectibles in this game, and they require you to slog through stages that can take up to even 16 minutes. You can earn medals by simply completing a stage or collecting all of the blueprints and crystals in a stage. There aren't any ranks in this game necessarily, but there are tokens that you can get by getting a certain amount of rings or beating a stage in a certain amount of time. You get these tokens to use on Quincy's pachinko machine that lets you unlock models. So what do you get for collecting everything? A dance party cutscene featuring the whole cast. I mean, that's more of an unlockable than most of the console games, so Sonic Boom Shattered Crystal has been completed. Yeah! Sonic Boom Fire and Ice is surprisingly more fun than its predecessor because the stages are much shorter and you don't have to backtrack through them as much as the first game, but you still can't get everything in one go. Unfortunately, I don't really have too much to say because you get the collectibles the same way as the first game. Just collect whatever is in a stage, beat the stage within a certain time frame, and collect enough rings and you're good to go. I mean, really the only unlockable that's really worth talking about is Amy's hammers, and you know, they just replace Amy's hammer. Literally all the other collectibles contribute to the multiplayer, and even in 2016, I doubt anyone really cared about that. So while you're not getting a dance party ending for getting everything, the rewards are pretty minuscule, but it's not that much of a hassle. And with that, Sonic Boom Fire and Ice has been completed. Okay, this is kind of a bait and switch because Sonic Dream Team keeps getting content updates, and I can only really say that I've 100%'d the game for now. So I won't be covering it in this video, but once the game stops getting supported or if it gets ported to consoles, I'm gonna make a separate video on it, because I'm assuming that a lot of people would consider it a handheld since it's on a phone and canon to the series. I do want to say thank you for watching this far into the video. I finally got the hardest part of this series out of the way, and I hope you stick around. So be sure to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the content I'll totally be making more frequently. I hope.